Yeah, I think it started from the place where religion or belief in God or fellowships, whatever it is, has been demonized in a way because it had morality in it. Most of religion, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam, or whichever that you know about, has a lot of morality. The world is anti-morality right now. We're reaching a place where we'd rather be permissive while people doing whatever they want. I think earlier I talked about freedoms, and since given that wokeness is advocating more for freedoms, so we want to be so free that we are free to be immoral. So in the end, we're getting into this place where we are watering down the values of whatever comes out of following God, whether it's religion, whether it's belief, faith, and whatever. So it's being watered down to create a permissive society, and yeah, we are reaping the benefits. The world is going in the wrong direction. Everyone can see it, but then we are not allowed to talk about it. Yeah, because what these people did first was to weaken the idea of God by weakening religion, watering it down in all the various ways that we probably find ourselves talking about today.
If you lose God as a foundation, you lose any source of morality. Everything just simply becomes relativistic. It becomes subjective. Morality becomes subjective. If you don't have a basis of morality, then anything kind of goes. But of course, I know on a practical level, they won't necessarily argue that anything goes. They have a sense of morality. But doesn't that actually show that there is something that's giving them that sense of morality? Because why would they have a sense of morality even though there's no source for it, unless there is something that is a source for it?
There should probably be an explanation for these innate ideas of morality. There should probably be an explanation, and if we don't have an explanation, sometimes the explanation that we can have is that there's a supreme being or a supreme deity that is overall. And
what other source of morality is there? It can't come from within ourselves, because nothing that comes from within us is objective. It's always subjective. You can't get morality from within ourselves. Another thing I wanted to talk about, Paul, is the tendency that exists within the scientific community to not believe in God to a greater extent than it is in the general society. So a larger proportion of scientists do not believe in God than the proportion of people within the general society. Now, I want to talk about this, but I want to talk about it in a way that maybe I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on this. I want to discuss a study that was done both in 1914 and in 1996. In 1914, this study was performed by a psychologist by the name of James Luba, who had sent a survey out to 1,000 scientists. And he had asked them various questions about their belief in God. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in a God that you can pray to? Do you believe in a God who will answer your prayers? Do you believe in life after death? All these questions, maybe this isn't the exact wording of the questions, but he explored these kind of questions. And when the results of the survey came back, 40% of scientists believed in God, 40% did not, and 20% did not know. And so the scientific community was basically split on this question, which if you look in the general society, the percentage of people who believe in God is of course much higher. What James Luba hypothesized, and this was at the beginning of the 20th century, this is around 1914, James Luba hypothesized that as scientific understanding continued to grow, the belief in God would decrease among scientists. Well, in about 1996, an historian of science by the name of Edward Larson decided to test James Luba's hypothesis. So he sent the same survey out to 1,000 scientists, asked the same questions, and the results came back. 40% believed in God, 40% did not believe in God, and 20% were unsure. It was basically unchanged. So the general trend of scientists being split on the question of God remained true, but all of the advances in scientific understanding over the 20th century did not change the rate to which scientists believe in God. We're people who are scientifically minded people, physical sciences, social sciences, and we would definitely lean on the side of those who believe in God. So I kind of want to explore this question a little bit, Paul, of number one, why do we think that there's a larger tendency on the part of scientists not to believe? But then at the same time, why do we think that that trend or that proportion or that percentage doesn't change? Half of the scientists still believe in God after 100 years from the early 20th century to the later 20th century, when there was tremendous growth in scientific knowledge and understanding. But the belief in God among scientists remains stable.
We've been talking about narrative, if it's just the narrative, that's what goes. I think this would also apply to this scenario, because the fact that these two different experiments or research work that was done, they have similar, technically identical results. 40-40, 20, they don't know. So that means it's 50-50, technically.
Yeah.
But why is it that what's sold out is that scientists are anti-God? Why is it easier for people to believe that scientists are anti-God when they're actually not? Because, I think in the end it fits in with the idea of narrative. So why? Like my point earlier was the idea of God, a supreme being, we can tie it to morality. Where the wokeness campaign has gone wrong is that it's promoting immorality. What will check the immorality, what will check the movement would be something like God. There's a consequence for immorality. So what do? They make sure they try to slur the idea of God. They water it down so that it has no value or it has no, kind of impact. So basically, let's kill the idea of God. Let's cause doubt in the idea that there's a God so that we can have more space to spread our narrative and check.